should we just do a little introduction for people who might not know what a 555 is? About what is that chip anyway?
So the 555 timer is a ubiquitous chip. It's in almost everything. It's a timer. So anything that has blinks, that needs something to happen on a schedule, that makes tones, all kinds of things, the 555 is in. It's in your washing machine. It's in your toaster. It's in your car. It gets embedded into other chips. It's one of the most produced chips of all time. And like I said, it's just in everything. And it was designed by Hans Kaminskind in, I think, 1979. And since then, it's just been used in so many different things.
And it was really like the first way that you could make, basically with like a single chip and minimal surrounding circuitry, like a train of pulses, like a clock train or something like that, something that could be used to keep time, right? With like microprocessors, or like, as you said, blinking things, whatever. So it was like the first of its kind too.
It was one of the early ICs. Yeah. They were just starting to make circuits that did a thing, that you were putting together more than just gates and so on. That it was really used in so many different things.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I also feel like it's a really cool chip for beginners to like really understand ICs, because like it was the first IC project that I did. You first make the light blink, and then you make that like light theremin circuit, and you're like, oh, I kind of like get what an IC is doing, and it's not just some computer stuff, So.
Right. It's not a microcontroller where, it's hidden in the code, or there's software part of it. It really is electronics. It's really you're using the circuit to create something rather than, taking it out to another level of abstraction. So yeah, there's tons of kits that are built around it. Like there's the Drawdio kit where you make a musical pencil, and there's all kinds of things. Okay, cool. So we made the footstool, and a friend of ours also brought a 555 project to the Analog Aficionados event, and he brought this. So this is made by Eric Schlepfer. He goes by Tube Time, and this is the 555 circuit on a breadboard, a traditional breadboard, an actual wooden board. It's all of those transistors and resistors. That's all that it's built up of. And he set this down on top of our footstool. And we're like, oh, we have to do something.
That is awesome.
So we made the 555 kit. So you're talking about blinker circuits. So I've got an example here.
Ooh,
this is
yay.
one of our 555 kits set up with, I'm going to hook up my 9-volt battery here. And this is just an LED blinker circuit.
Nice.
So yeah, just a couple of resistors, a capacitor, and a power source. So yeah, it's one of those things you can make something that does something with very few components. So after we made the 555, people loved it, and we're like, oh, what are you going to make next? And we made the 555 with these cool decorative legs, the stand for it, that look like IC legs. So we wanted to keep in this form factor, the DIP 8 form factor. And so other popular chips that come in a DIP 8, and DIP is dual inline package, so your standard through-hole chip package.
Yep, two rows of legs.
So that the 741 was another obvious one, in part because, again, it gets used in a lot of things. It was one of the early op amps. It was the first op amp to include a capacitor inside, so that took up a lot of die space. Capacitors take up a lot of area. So it was one of the early ones. So that's how it came about. So we've got that.
Cool.
So you can see the capacitor on board. It's a little different ratio when it's discrete components.
Yes. I was surprised that this only had one capacitor in it. Yes. I don't know. I just assumed that there would be more. But
you would need so much more die space.
Yeah. And I don't know if that, things are always getting smaller, and they're always coming up with new materials and new ways of doing things. But I wonder, are Are capacitors on dies a lot smaller now than they were in in the 1970s, or is that just some laws of physics that you can't really get around and they still take up a lot of space?
I think it's laws of physics, and we tend to just use discrete capacitors for the most part now. If you're interested, I think that Ken Sheriff did a dye photo and article on the 741, so you can see how much of the dye the cap takes up.
Cool.
It's really cool. He also did one for the 555, which is just fun as well.
Nice. I didn't know that people hide artwork on dies, on integrated circuit dies. So,
oh yeah,
so
that's one of my
are,
favorites. That's one of my favorite like electronic secrets to have ever discovered. It's so like whimsical and fun.
Yes. Yeah. So dies are the things that go inside, are the substrate that your entire circuit is printed on, that are that are microscopic, that are inside of these, black bodies that make up our ICs. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about dies.
Although,
and so on microscopic levels, people put like little fun action figures and artwork and weird stuff on there. So it's lurking in all of your electronics without you even knowing about it.
Yeah, there's some famous ones that have like a pair of scissors. There's signatures. There's all kinds of stuff in dice. So we call these our disintegrated circuits because they're integrated circuits that you blow up and take apart and make from discrete components. But one of the things that we realized is that it would be fun to do an intro surface mount version of them, so that people could get started with surface mount soldering or just for fun. And so here's the 555 version of that. And one of the fun things that we did with this is we made it to scale. So you've got your DIP 8 and your SOIC.